Alliance, and it regroups professionals and companies in the digital ICT sector. And for the year 2002, for our first webinar, we chose to speak about a current topic that is trending worldwide, which is cryptocurrency. And we want to analyze how cryptocurrency can affect our African ecosystem. So we're going to look at the challenges and the opportunity of this new paradigm. And in order to discuss this very, very important topic, we have some renowned experts with us. I'm going to present them in a few seconds. We have Mr. Olotoyin Olonitero. Mr. Olotoyin Olonitero leads on data analytics, blockchain, and emerging technology application system for over 20 years in e-payment system integration, security, and police service in Nigeria. He is the founder of Digital Extra Blockchain Innovation Hub and Laboratory, and he's the executive director at Data Analytics Privacy Technology Limited. He's also an executive chairman at Digital Extra Limited. He has held management and leadership positions at notable organizations, including being a director at Crypto Economy Institute of Africa and a member at International Center for Emerging Technology. If you allow me, I think I spoke too fast. I'm just going to let the chairman say a few words about AFICTA, and then we'll continue the panel presentation. Chairman, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Sindeu, much appreciated. And I would like to welcome all the attendees and the panelists. We highly appreciate your presence in this first e-conference for 2022. And we are starting this year, if I must say, we are starting it with a bang. We are starting it with one of the highly noted and very important topic, which is around digital cryptocurrencies. So it's one very much anticipated topic, and many people, I think, they will very much like to hear from our experts with regards to this particular topic. But just before I go into that, I just wanted to actually introduce you to our organization, which is AFICTA. AFICTA as an organization, what we stand for ensuring that the digital promise that has been put is actually realized in Africa. And one would ask how one will actually get to accomplish that. This intervention is one of the ways in which we do that. So we look at making sure that we promote capacity development through events, networking, and ensuring that experts and those who have got an interest in knowing and participating in topics of interest and importance, they get together. It's multi-stakeholders being put together to ensure that that happens. And we also do other activities on policy advocacy as an organization. And if you are not yet a member or affiliated with us, I would like to actually propose and encourage that you look at the chat. I think in the chat we'll put in a link so that you are able to go into our site and interact, and also contribute if you want to also be part of the panelists in the next topics as we move on. You are able to do that. And I just want, maybe without taking much time, to thank the panelists for availing themselves and to actually put their expertise at our disposal, so as to talk about this particular topic of importance, which is on cryptocurrencies. We will hear what they say is their experiences with regards to opportunities and challenges that are there. Much appreciated. I hope we enjoy the conference going forward. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Chair, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for these opening remarks. Before you spoke, I did a small presentation of one of our panelists. So now I'm going to, the only woman in our panel, her name is Christelle Yubi. Christelle is an international business development, sales, and marketing expert. She was the sales leader, Central Africa at General Electric. She is the CEO of A&M Group Cameroon, and she's also the Director of Cooperation at Conseil National de Jeunesse of Cameroon. Christelle is a Junior Chamber International Partnership Committee member and a Senate Chair Lady at JCI Cameroon. Christelle is a communication expert, a journalist, and a youth advocate. She is highly professional with a proven track record in research, market analysis, business strategy, marketing, sales, and growth initiatives with focus on Cameroon and Central Africa power markets. Our next panelist is Eric Chepanu. Eric Chepanu is a tech ops engineer. He's an entrepreneur, and he's an early Bitcoin adopter and a Bitcoin evangelist. He has worked in the past for companies like IBM, Adobe, and is currently employed as a technology manager for a well-known software company based in the UK, where he's been active for the past 10 years. Eric devotes his spare time to entrepreneurial work and Bitcoin evangelism. He believes firmly that Bitcoin has the potential to bring lasting freedom and prosperity to Africa in the next decade. Last but not least, we have Karim Omar bin Kayed. Karim is a proud Raya employee for 20 years, currently the Business Development Director and previous Sales Director at Raya IT, one of the leading system integrators in Egypt. He's the Chair of System Integration Divisional Etisalat NGO, with over 20 years experience in the IT system integration industry. Karim has a strong passion for business consultancy, enterprise architecture, and blockchain, and Karim implements digital transformation methodologies on the ground and aims to unlock blockchain potential for specific industries. So with that round table, I'll briefly introduce myself. My name is Eric Sinder. I'm a digital entrepreneur and vice chairman of AFICTA in charge of Central Africa. So without any further ado, please let me introduce our first speaker, Eric Chepanu. Eric, you have the floor.
Hi, good morning. I hope you guys can hear me very well.
Very well.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few slides here to share with you. I'm going to, I think I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, just let me see. So please let me know if you can see my screen. I'm showing here the presentation, the slides that I want to go through with you. So this is going to be about understanding Bitcoin's value proposition and its importance for Africa. So just give me 1 second. I'm trying to move to the next slide. Good. So I want to expand on the claim that you have already mentioned. Basically, this is my belief that Bitcoin is the solution to the problems that plague the continent of Africa, and that it has the potential to bring long-lasting, freedom, peace, and prosperity. So that's a huge claim, I understand. So I'm going to, during this presentation, to walk you through 3 different arguments that I've used to come to this conclusion, which is first, how the mass adoption of Bitcoin can contribute to the prosperity. And secondly, currently in most African countries, we are still lagging behind in terms of digital transformation. And I firmly believe that Bitcoin can introduce new, affordable, and improved systems that we can leapfrog to, similar to what happened, back in the 90s with the introduction of mobile telephony. And last but not least, I want to talk about the topic of decentralization and why decentralization in blockchain, cryptocurrency, why it truly matters. And with these 3 arguments, we will then, you will then understand I hope you will understand my whole reasoning, how I come to make this claim. So I'm just going to move to the next slide, which is basically mass adoption. So, I mean, today with the current world events, right, which is the pandemic or the conflict in Ukraine, what it teaches us is that the importance of protecting our purchasing power from the inflation that is caused on one side by government's unprecedented expansion of the money supply, and on the other side, the scarcity of energy or the scarcities in commodities, and as a result of that, what we are experiencing now is our prices are soaring at a speed that has never been seen in the last 40 years. So inflation make it really hard for us to prepare for our future. So this is especially true for people who, for people of low income. They have to make the very hard choice to sacrifice their future for the present. And I think that Bitcoin as a deflationary monetary system can really change this. It can allow or give everyone, whether they are rich or poor, the opportunity to save any amount of money and prepare for their future. Right. So, you can buy you can buy a fraction of Bitcoin. You don't need really to be really wealthy or to spend a lot of money. You can buy any fraction of Bitcoin and by doing so contribute to secure your future. And now, as last claim on this topic, I would say money is really the language that we use to express how we value things. So, and this is the fundamental of a well-functioning society. So, the corruption of money, for example, through the inflation of the money supply, will spread to other layers of society like cancer, and only sound money, and by this I mean money that is immune to manipulation, immune to politics. Only sound money is vital. Hence, we say, fix the money, fix the world. And I believe that Bitcoin, as the most superior form of money that man has ever invented, has this potential. So I'm going to move to the next slide, where I want to talk about the second argument, which is basically about leapfrogging to better system. So here I want to specifically discuss about how technologies promote what I call trust and social scalability, and we will see how Bitcoin fits into it. But first, let me define what I mean with social scalability. It's basically the extent to which we can increase the depth of our social network. So I use this diagram that you see on the screen to show that as we're moving towards a more digital world, we are able with technology to gradually increase our social scalability. We increase the cooperation between members of society and trust, and by these increasing also the prosperity. So without without technology, for instance, the limit that we estimate to our social scalability is 150 participants. But with technology, we are able to increase that dramatically. Imagine, for instance, someone who is based in Cameroon and with the internet is able to use internet to sell to millions of people across the world, what he wouldn't do without this technology. So I see, for instance, the inventions of the wheel, the printing press, and also the digitization that we have introduced with the personal computer or the internet, and also Bitcoin on this scale. And all of them have in a way contributed to increase the social scalability just mostly by helping to spread idea much faster and much further. So here also, I just need to say that Bitcoin is very different from all these, from all the other technologies, in the sense that it introduces a new paradigm. It removes the need for people to trust each other in order to cooperate. This is because the trust is already handled at the protocol level. And as a concrete example, for someone here based in the UK, it is extremely difficult. I mean, for someone based in Africa, it's extremely difficult to acquire a real estate property here, just because you will hardly find any solicitor who will trust either the source of the funds or the document that you would provide to them. The African jurisdiction, unfortunately, suffer from this problem. But I think that Bitcoin can fix this, because the trust is already handled at a protocol level, so that the people who want to cooperate together do not need to trust each other. And I think that is extremely important. And I want to expand a little bit on that and show how that with Bitcoin, you can easily prove the ownership either of your money. That is what I'm showing here on the graph on the left-hand side, or you can also show ownership of things that you have in real world. This is a process that we call tokenization, that is using digital tokens on the blockchain as a proxy for real-world physical assets. So this only works because the blockchain technology brings accountability, it brings transparency, privacy, and also efficiency. So what it shows you as well is that blockchain is very good at enforcing property rights. And I am here reminded of a quote from a very renowned economist called Ludwig von Mises, who's really emphasized on the fact that private property is inextricably linked with civilization. And Bitcoin, by enforcing private property rights, by enforcing property rights, problems like land disputes or elections dispute or counterfeit of medicine or product cannot happen. So this is
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt. You have 1 more minute, please.
Okay, good. I am almost done here. I'm coming to the last point, which is basically the topic of centralization and decentralization. And I will be connecting the dots between decentralization, freedom, and prosperity. I just want to say that, in a centralized system, we have a very asymmetry in the distribution of power, which makes it, which is basically inexistent in a centralized system. So in decentralized system. So this has very far-reaching implication, because it means that in decentralized system, the cooperation between all the actors can happen without coercion. And this is basically the absence of coercion that we call freedom. And we know that freedom and prosperity are very highly correlated. And we have as example in history the case of the USA and USSR, or in Africa, the case of Zimbabwe and Botswana, two countries that basically followed the same path during the colonial times and went separate ways after the independence, with the results that we know. So by this, I want to show how decentralization can really lead to prosperity. This is the last slide, and that's pretty much everything I wanted to present to you.
Okay, thank you. Very well done, Eric. Thank you again for your expertise. To sum it up, Eric spoke about the Bitcoin value proposition. He also spoke about the necessity for mass adoption for this technology to strive in our African ecosystem. And he spoke about the trust and the social scalability. And he spoke in the last about decentralization, freedom, and prosperity. Okay, maybe for people in our attendance that don't know anything about Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a type of currency like we use to the fiat currency, the US dollar, the euro, African francs, whatever. But nowadays, we have been using mobile money. Mobile money is still money, but it's kind of you don't see it. And Bitcoin, it's the next step. So with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, we can send money in large amounts and pay so low fees. So in Africa, we used to use services like Western Union, MoneyGram. With Bitcoin, we can send money huge amounts and paying the minimum fee. So just an example of how Bitcoin can change a layman everyday African life. In second, I'm going to introduce, if you give me a second, I'm going to introduce Karim. Karim, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'll share the screen right now, please. Yeah?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, I'll go now. Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Karim Omar. I am from Raya IT and the member of Ittisal NGO. It's a real pleasure to be with you in this panel. Since more than a year, the topics we talk about are the most important and consistent topics in any conversation. As you know, and like Mr. Eric said, everything is becoming digital in using our mobiles and digital money and everything we speak about. We are currently going to the biggest transformation in financial history, the fintech revolution, open banking, DLTs, and cryptocurrencies. These things are going to transform the banking as we know. Those who will be significantly impacted by the fintech revolution are those who work in the financial industry. The bankers of the future will be different, definitely, from the bankers of today. Economists have been exploring the human behavior for hundreds of years, how to make the decisions and how actually to go into groups and how to exchange value. They have studied the institutions like legal systems, corporations, marketplaces, but there is a new technological institution that will fundamentally change how we exchange the value, and this is called the blockchain. If we have a look at this picture, the DLTs has a long and remarkable history. And at ancient Rome, for example, there was a distributed ledger that allowed the citizens to make purchases through the empire and help in achieve the empire of Rome at that time. At 1983, there was the blind signatures for untraceable payments by David Chaum, and after the B-money, and 2005, the BitGold started. 2008, as we all know, the first conceptually document of the blockchain. Then at 2009, the Bitcoin was introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto. Then during this time, from 2009 till as we stay now 2022, we had lots. We had the central bank digital currency, we had a flow of cryptocurrencies and other form of unregulated sources of fund like the ICOs, the IEOs, and the IMOs, the most recent ones. The central bank digital currency is on its way. Many headers and titles creators, they speak about the central bank digital currency is more applying, they say about it, it's more when it's applying negative interest rates to the economy. It's maybe about, it's an idea of getting cash out of the system. And it's maybe they say it's more about also tracking and tracing and other ways to control the taxation. But let's have a look about this slide, about the market view. From 2017, there were about 24 plus countries investing in digital ledger technology. More than 90 corporations have joined the blockchain consortiums like the Corda and things like that. When we speak about the central banks that we are exploring, now 80% of them were exploring the central bank digital currency last year, and now more than 90% of the central banks are exploring the central bank digital currency. If we have a look about this statement of the European Central Bank, we think that it's duty of us actually to have available digital currencies that would operate to the benefit of the customers. So what would it look like? It could be used like banknotes. I don't think it's like banknotes because it will not have the degree of anonymity that banknotes have. So physical money is outdated and being less and less used. Of course, the government can be left behind because of this. Existing fintech companies and platforms like Square, Alipay, PayPal, Visa, also cryptocurrencies are becoming bigger and bigger. Of course, the central banks require to defend themselves against these potential friends, or at least have a backup plan. If we have a look about the geopolitics of the central bank digital currencies, and from the prospect of how they can accommodate the changes that are getting around, like Mr. Eric also said in the last presentation, there are cryptocurrencies, there is cash, there is also reserve money that controls the inflation, electronic payments, bank accounts, and things like that. We hear nowadays that some countries are accepting donations in cryptocurrency. They are raising bonds in cryptocurrency, and there are still many questions remained unanswered in this topic. If we have a look on the bigger picture about the cryptocurrency and the central bank digital currency, we have two different taxonomies. Let's assume we have both currencies together. The two taxonomies of the new forms of currencies. we consider a new system. Can we consider a new system that can take the benefits of one and manage the risks of the other? Creating an innovation and technical operational framework will require that we have a look on the benefits and the risks of the intersections of the digital and the central bank and the token-based also cryptocurrencies. And definitely this is the main challenge of how to do next. What's the efficiency argument of the central bank digital currency? It will reduce dependence on physical cash, definitely. There will be making the distribution of money more efficient. Will regulators design the central bank digital currency for emerging markets? What's their plan to manage the interface between the cash and the digital economies? It seems unlikely that the central bank will replace the cash for low-income households very soon. The central bank digital currency is more likely to substitute for other digital asset store of value. And this raised the right question to ask. Will there be more efficient to use? If we have a look about today, more than 1 billion people around the globe, 45% of women in low income, they don't have the real identity. Putting in consideration that the identity is something very important for the anti-money laundering and criminal finance terrorism and things like, and systems that will require very aggressive and very accurate onboarding about these issues. What will happen if we consider the central bank digital currency with the status that we have in our continent, Africa? The challenges are still need to be studied more and more. There are big risks and unclear benefits for the central bank digital currency. So finally, if we decide to coming together, bringing central banks, government, financial institutions, all the way down to merchants and credit unions, if we bring all these actors together and we work to propose a new solution of regulation, a new way of thinking about banking, a new way of thinking of how we solve the problem of financial inclusion, and we started to play in all these different technologies, ranging from distributed ledgers to the payment banks. This will allow us for start looking for a digital solution, giving us the true independence. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Karim. Thank you very much. So Karim focused about central bank digital currency. He spoke briefly about the fintech technology, the blockchain technology, and all the advantages this new trend is offering the public, the population, the world population, and our countries. Karim really emphasized on digital currency because, as you know the current news, the war in Ukraine. Everybody is saying that the US dollar is losing its magnitude, its power. I think a few days ago, there was the first oil trade between India and Russia, I think, and they didn't use the dollar. So if we look closely, we see that the dollar is not going to be the dominant currency anymore. And all the countries, as he mentioned, most countries are looking into a digital currency alternative because mainly of the rise of Bitcoin. Because if you look at Bitcoin from 1999 to these days, it increased about 1,000% of value. And I know the general public still look at cryptocurrency as a huge risk, but even the currency that we are using right now, who's to say that in a few days the dollar is not going to lose half of its value? So we really have to look at cryptocurrency as the way of the future because it's inevitable. Our next presenter is Mr. Olotuyin. Mr. Olotuyin, you have the floor. Unmute your speaker, please. Your speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to stand on the existing protocol so that I can work within the 10 minutes time that I'm given the opportunity to do. And in my new approach, I'm going to give a verbal presentation, and the approach will be that I'm going to respond to 5 important questions, which will give us an idea on what we should be doing within the crypto space that is before us. The first thing is to look at the major benefits of cryptocurrency for Africa. In my opinion, cryptocurrencies, which are part of the emerging technology, that is blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology, the use case, which is the first use case and application, allow Africa to be at relatively the same speed with other continents of the world. Because right now we are rated least. And the reason for that is that a lot of things happen before we woke up. So it will also allow us to define what we want and how to go about it. For example, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and the SWIFT network overlay were established when most African countries, when most colonized African countries have not got independence. So our economic were controlled by Western countries' dictates. So the CBA, the World Bank after 1945, all those things, America controlled the World Bank and the IMF is controlled by Europe, and they impose all of this. So that's why we're in this mess that we are. So with cryptocurrency phenomenon, we can design and implement what Africa needs and wants in our own way, sociologically, economically, legally, and under integrated regulations. So Africa also has the opportunity to have unique cryptocurrency that will serve the over 1 billion people African market uniquely. It will also help in the implementation of the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement, among others. So if we say it is 50 Africoin from here to Kenya, it means any African will know that is the rate. So we don't have to be wondering with what has this airport dues and this and all kinds of things, because the distance and all those things, we're always relating. So that is the benefits from the benefits aspect. The second question I would like to look at is, what are the necessary steps to be taken to build a robust ecosystem for cryptocurrencies and blockchain services deployment? My answer to that is that the necessary steps include, but not limited to, 1, organizing cryptocurrency and blockchain technology conferences, seminars, webinars, summits, workshops, and so on, to provide enlightenment, education, skills, development, and capacity building for various stakeholders in Africa. Government, public sectors, people, because one of the questions about the answer is, now what you ask can the beginner start? So we need to make sure that these are addressed, like what we are doing in this sector now by introducing these things into our space and by bringing it there. So the informal sectors and to all Africans generally. 2, development of a unique African type cryptocurrency and other cryptocurrencies that will be connected to it. So that instead of using the dollar, if I want to trade with Kenya, why should Nigeria first of all convert the money to dollar before converting to Kenya shillings? That is stupidity. So, but well, we don't have also there because we were not independent when World Bank, IMF, and all those things that we impose this on. Now that this cryptocurrency company, now we should define what we want to make sure that African can trade together. So when we develop that unique cryptocurrency, we can have other cryptocurrency, altcoins, but that unique African cryptocurrency will be the convertible international currency for Africa, and we can relate with other jurisdictions. So that we connected with such development, we enter set up of African-oriented crypto exchange under a multi-stakeholder licensing, registration, or authorization regime, not by government, but with government understanding and appreciation. Because there's a whole lot of that going to be happening in the space, and technology is moving at a faster speed than government can actually do. So government will understand it, but it is not only going to be supplier-driven, but also be demand-driven. So it will be at the intersection of both. So the third one is the implementation of what I've just talked about in terms of that. Then next, development of multinational industry and collaborative legal regime to govern this single and unique cryptocurrency for Africa. Then development and implementation of blockchain address issues related to crypto asset inheritance through Africa-wide probate registry. Today, if 400 million Africans buy cryptocurrency in foreign exchanges, when they get old or when they die, what happened to the funds? There's some questions we need to ask ourselves, because this is another way they use to colonize us. If we do not sit down now and design and know that we have these crypto exchanges and we begin to use it there, it means we are already talking about digital colonizations, which data colonization, which the developed countries want to do for us. Because once our people start dying or they get old, what then happens to the money? Because you are making use of cryptographic keys, which in most cases might be with those exchanges depending on the kind of exchanges, which we are going to details later and subsequently on when we are doing educational programs in this regard. So probate registers are very important issues. So it's not just something we are talking about CBN digital currencies alone. It is good, just an element of the whole big picture that we're talking about. This to help prevent capital flight from Africa to outside Africa, crypto exchanges, or incapacitation or damage of crypto asset holders from Africa. Next, we have to do test observation and improvement on developed systems and crypto infrastructure in respect to all that I have listed. So this is a very important one in terms of the question that I've answered there. Then the third question is, what are the major threats of massive cryptocurrency adoption? Major threats include, but not limited to: one, prevalence of information poverty with respect to this emerging technology and fundamental issues around them: fraud, cybercrime, securities, and attributes of features of cryptocurrency. A lot of people in Africa today don't know that they will just see a lot of crypto and they start buying. Is that cryptocurrency convertible? If you buy it, can you convert it to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple? Or you just become a multimillionaire dream, only for you to know later that is fraud. This is information property, and information is a very serious property, because you can lose all your savings, all your investment into buying cryptos without having knowledge and understanding of that. We need to do that. Lack of knowledge between compatible and non-compatible cryptocurrencies. Then regulatory challenges and government side, especially central bank opposition to cryptocurrencies. They need to forget that African economy is formally driven. A lot of things happen in the formal sectors. You have villages where they run their banking system and they know how to collect the money. Unlike the formal banks that will collect your money, will not load the money to you, will load the money to government, to some international organization to go and do crude oil business. And when they collapse, have issues, government will bail them out, also with public money. So there's a whole lot of things we need to do with that regard. The fourth question is, what role should government play in this new digital trend adoption? Government should, one, enact necessary legislation to guide the new crypto industry and in particular cryptocurrency space. Two, the legislation should be made through multi-stakeholder approach that will consider macroeconomic aspects of the emerging technology and business outside the groupthink of central banks in Africa. Because most of the decisions of central banks in Africa is only guiding their own interests, which is infinitesimal in terms of maintaining monetary policies. What about the macroeconomic side? In Nigeria, for example, we have more than 5 million people trading cryptocurrency, and government is not collecting tax. Because CBN is blocking it, then the educational sector cannot change their curriculum. Then the intelligence agency that need to be working on blockchain technology, Bitcoin forensic, what would they now be doing? And this is happening. That means tax evasion, terrorism financing, the necessary agencies that need to develop the intellectual, technological capacity, technical capacity to be able to operate in this space will now be behind the international community, because the central banks are, opposed to this new development and innovations, and because they want to be supplier driven. So what I'm saying, in other words, is that government in Africa should prevent that from engaging monetary policies, particularly cryptocurrency regulatory dictatorship. They don't know enough and they want to dictate. Central bank must be prevented from annihilating the function of other government agencies or entities, such as tax agencies, Inland Revenue Service, security and exchange commissions, and others. Government should support other aspects of the crypto space, just as the educational aspect, for Africa to develop educational curriculum and their practice in Africa, such that future of jobs in this space are guaranteed for Africa and the next generation, because we are actually going to be producing the crypto generation. Finally, which I will now stop, the single and the unified Africa cryptocurrencies in the near future, pros and cons. My approach to that is that a hierarchical crypto regime should be adopted, where there is one single and unified African cryptocurrency, but I give room for other cryptocurrencies to be mapped into it through a convertible model and framework. One advantage in this regard is that the single and unified African cryptocurrency will be ordered with the other national fiat money, that is the traditional legal tender, or fiat cryptocurrency, central bank digital currencies, it will be devaluation resistant. Because right now, a lot of people are poor. If you save your money 20 years ago, by the time you retire, when you're 60 or 35, the money has become so developed that you still be poor. So, but when we now have an African-wide cryptocurrency, it will be this specific country devaluation resistant, and that is a very important aspect of something we are looking at. So it will also serve as convertible cryptocurrency for other private sectors cryptocurrencies. A consequence of this is that government central bank will feel seriously threatened, as it will be outside their control by the individual states or government of sovereign countries. Another benefit is that the single and unified African cryptocurrency will enable Africa to interact with other continents of the world, like China, like India, like Russia, on their own terms, and EU and US, given that we have a common market of over 1 billion Africans. The single and unified African cryptocurrency will help to facilitate the African free continental Africa continental free trade agreement. For example, air travel from one location to another in Africa, we have same fee and cryptocurrency charge. This is just one aspect, and there are so many things. So what are necessary steps for public sectorization?
I'm sorry, sir, a few seconds to wrap it up, please.
Okay, thank you. This is the last one. So there's need for continually and quarterly public sensitization of this new development from all angles: policy, regulatory, legal, technology, sociological, and economic, so business aspect of the development in the single and unified cryptocurrency regime for Africa. The media and press group in Africa must be properly trained and informed as the set public agenda. The regulators should also be well informed from monetary, fiscal, and societal benefit angle, and not just from government or the monetary regulator side only or mainly. African societies must be aware of how issues related to cryptocurrencies used for terrorism, financing, tax evasions, and other vices will be prevented, and how it will help government in Africa to become more efficient and effective. Thank you very much for your audience in this regard. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Olotoyin, for your passionate intervention. I'm fired up after listening to what you have to say. You mentioned something about the first need to raise awareness about cryptocurrency. This is on point. And you also mentioned something that's going to be discussed, government intervention, because we see all over the world that government, they want to find a way to regulate cryptocurrency. But by definition, cryptocurrency are decentralized. But because of crime, terrorism, and stuff like that, we need to think on how to better regulate this new technology. So this is something that we are going to look after. Last but not least, our next presenter, Christelle. Christelle, you have the floor.
Good morning once again, everybody. And I'm very delighted to join this conversation around cryptocurrency and the impact it will have on Africa, what it's already having. So I'll go straight away to answer some of the questions we are to address today, starting with what are the major benefits of cryptocurrency. I will limit myself to 3 points, given that the other panelists have already elaborated on some of these points. So the first thing for me is that cryptocurrency is based on financial infrastructure. It offers an easily accessible alternative to traditional banking system and promote financial inclusion. You know, not everybody in Africa has access to a bank account, but with cryptocurrency and a phone, you are able to be connected to this new digital currency. Secondly, cryptocurrencies are not regulated by government and they are less subject to volatility, therefore relatively stable as compared to the currency of most of our African countries that are either pegged on euro or dollars and needs a lot of transactions to be exchanged at the international level, especially now with COVID, where for you to even find the currency is very difficult. At times you go on the market and you cannot even access it. On the third point, it facilitates cross-border trades, and the remittance are very low as compared to the standard transfer mechanism that are offered across the continent. And also it offers a safer method to transfer funds across the continent. So those are the three main points that I think cryptocurrency has brought to the continent, and it offers the flexibility and also create the opportunities for many citizens and enterprises to do business in a very fluid manner. Looking at what is needed to build a robust ecosystem around cryptocurrency and blockchain services, I think one of the major things we should look at is the regulatory change. We need to put down regulatory mechanism that will help us at a certain point in time control the flexibility of the currency. Second thing I want to touch on is about the application of cryptocurrency. If, for instance, when a metal is not used, it becomes worthless. At the same time, if Bitcoins are not used and are not used as a value for exchange, it will not be have the impact that we want across the continent. So what I want to say is that these currency need to be used, and they need to be a global or an African sensitization across the needs and the value added of the currency. And the last thing I want to touch on is technological change and stability. Unlike physical commodities, change of technology affects the currency price. And also, we need to look at how to have a stable technology across the services offered by cryptocurrency, because when technology around these changes, it also affects the price of the currency. So we also have to touch on how to make the technology around cryptocurrency stable. Looking at the major threats on the adoption of cryptocurrency, the first thing is the lack of centralized control around the currency. That was make most citizens across the African continent afraid of the currency, because if I don't have control, and this is where the government also comes in, if you don't have enough control on the currency, some people are scared of what will happen tomorrow. And also the ability to store the value, and they also have an impact around frauds, because cryptocurrency, you can limit the number of frauds, you can limit them, and you also have to build legitimacy and trust across the adoption of the currency. And it's very easy for an expert to sit down and say, and try to talk about the currency because you know the added value of it as an expert. But for the common man across Africa to adopt the currency, there needs to be a widespread of sensitization around this. Talking about the role that the government can play, I will start by saying that if you cannot fight something, you need to join it. In response to that, government have made numerous efforts to stop cryptocurrency and ban it from their various countries, but government needs to think with central banks on how to launch their own state-controlled virtual currency. And they can also work on building strategy to centralize and help citizens accept the currency. That's my proposal, because I believe at a point in time, cryptocurrency will affect the banking system, the current banking system. And since the government cannot really control it, they need to build a system where there will be a key player and also influence the evolution of the currency. On the fifth question about a unified African cryptocurrency, I think the currency is very needed. And as we are, the countries are ratifying the free trade area, it is very important for this currency to also be introduced to facilitate cross-border payments. Because today in Africa, when you want to do business, you are, for instance, I'm a Cameroonian. If I want to do business with Nigeria, I need to convert my CFA into dollars, or I need to go to Nigeria to convert my CFA into Naira before I can do business. That's very difficult. But with this currency, it's easier. If we are two businessmen and want to do a simple transaction, it's very easier for us to connect on our network and do the transaction. So we definitely, African countries need to work around developing a unified system for cryptocurrency and to facilitate the implementation of the free trade area. On the last question about the step for public sensitization and adoption, I think if cryptocurrency seeks to replace our normal currency today in Africa and become widely accepted for payment, store value and unit account, it is very important that we work all together, be it the business sector, be it the government, be it individual users, to do sensitization and go closer to the users, to the people using the current banking system, to adopt this currency and to reduce the fright that Africans have around the currency. I will stop there and be available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Christelle. Thank you so much for emphasizing on the view from a general African day-to-day about cryptocurrency. You're speaking about the fright or about the fear of moving to this new domain. We know there are so many cryptocurrencies flying around, but what most people do is they use the cryptocurrency which is world renowned, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And we have to keep in mind that the global adoption of cryptocurrency, especially for Bitcoin, it's only 2%. So with a broader adoption, that currency is going to pick up in value. Ethereum as well is growing fast and fast because it allows other currency to build smart contracts on them. So thank you for your input. You spoke about currencies. You know, in Central Africa, where we are from, we're still using XAF or XOF. And the public, the general public about this is Africa. We should be moving away from those currencies. So why not get a unified cryptocurrency? So that is something that we need to think about too. And also Olutoyin mentioned the African Trade Agreement, which is a great opportunity for us Africans to trade among us in Africa, because right now it's almost impossible with so many local currencies around. So again, cryptocurrency could be an answer to what we are aiming for. Now, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, you want to have a word before we take questions? Thabo, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I'm trying to unmute and to put in my video. Sorry for that, and much appreciated for the inputs that we have received from all of the experts. But there was something that was very interesting, and it came about to be two concepts that are maybe speaking against each other. And I think, Mr. Chair, you really also highlighted it, which is the issue of decentralization versus central bank's view on centralizing a digital currency. And and also looking at the very same challenges that were maybe seen by most, being that of the government being central to the challenges and problems of a monetary policy being abused at times, and the central bank also serving financial services sector rather than serving the people themselves, and introducing inflation through this thing of fractional reserve banking system. These are the kinds of things you hear from people as they say, perhaps we need something very decentralized and something that is not controlled by a middleman. And I do take note of challenges of an environment without any control, where you've got fraud easily happening. You do not know who is on the other side when you send transactions, in as much as blockchain is said to give you advantages of trust, where you do not have trust between parties. The issue that has been seen is exactly the trust problem, where you actually, people are anonymous. They swindle and steal people's crypto without really any track. And there is also that challenge where you actually, when you look at a lot of security problems that we have seen, cybersecurity crimes that are happening, most of it default really to the problems of having to say, pay me in cryptocurrency, because they know you cannot track and trace those transactions. So I would like, maybe as we are going into also the questions, to see this challenge maybe being addressed as what is the middle ground? The middle ground of complete decentralization and people being away from government, and also government on another hand, and central banks trying to also play their role in this environment that is threatening their existence, the very existence of a central bank. It will be quite interesting to hear it. And I would like also to see, with regards, somebody asked about maybe a organization such as AFICTA, will take part in maybe facilitating a African digital currency. And I think we already have certain currencies such as eNaira is already started, is on the go. But the key here is about what Christelle was talking about, which is inter-country, and also I think Olotiyin spoke about it, where you actually trade up amongst countries. You don't have to go to a euro or a dollar before you really trade as a country. It's a challenge and an opportunity that is really very important to us as Africans, and I think it's a challenge we can take, and it's a challenge that we can solve. Thank you, and I think maybe let me give the floor back to you, and I'm appreciating the panelists for giving us these insights. These insights are very thought-provoking and much appreciated for that.
Okay.
We can go to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your remarks. What I can say right from the go is you mentioned something about people losing their cryptocurrency, but I don't think, I think this happened with lesser known cryptocurrency. But if they're using Bitcoin or Ethereum or major other cryptocurrency, most likely won't happen. Talking about government-backed currency, you know, we have the US, we have stable coins. In the past few years, we've seen the emergence of stable coins. For example, in the US, we have the USDT and the USDC. So for people who don't want to invest into volatile cryptocurrency, we know, for example, the Bitcoin goes up and down, but the value is still very high. They can buy stable coins that are available. I think each country, Russia has its own cryptocurrency stable coin, India, more and more countries are developing. We last spoke about Naira. The Naira will be a stable coin, hopefully. But I want to give the floor to maybe Eric to answer some of the concerns that you raised. Eric, your thoughts?
So you want to hear my thoughts about which question specifically?
About the risk involved in crypto, acquiring crypto. Mr. Tabo, the chairman, he mentioned some people losing their cryptocurrency. What are the risks involved?
Well, I think we have to understand that this is still a very new technology, and there's still a lot to be done in user experience, to make sure that people can safely manage, handle, and trade with their cryptocurrencies. There's still a lot to be done. There's a lot that is being done at the moment with things like, there's a concept of multi-signature, for instance, with Bitcoins. That is a very good way to secure the Bitcoins. But obviously, there are dangers. I think you've also touched on that. There are dangers when you use less known cryptocurrencies because they do not have a good track record. They can't demonstrate a good track record. So there's a very high counterparty risk there. The danger is there, and we have this danger because we have the responsibility to look after our assets. That is the price to pay for the freedom that it gives us. And there is a lot of education work that needs to be done there to prevent that. And I'm seeing some improvements there. I mean, it takes time, but we're getting there.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Karim, can you add something?
Okay. Let us think about the situation in another way, for adoption. What I mentioned in my presentation, I was just highlighting about the central bank digital currencies in a way that it can be discussed, like what happened in some of the successful countries that considered the crypto as a legal tender. They can consider this adoption even if with some rules or KPIs for people. I think that this will help in a better instrument and better, as like Crystal said, for more people in order to have a reliable investment in this into these platforms. At the end of the day, if you invested in crypto, then you were unable to have the reward for it, or have a sudden devaluation, then you will not be satisfied, and this will not be the good investment or the way around to make money or protect your future. So this is my first comment. My second comment, that like what you said, Eric, about the stable coin. The stable coin, we have to think about, to differentiate between the totally, because it's something tricky, and it's important for the audience to know about that. This is something very tricky. It does not mean there is something called blockchain, a completely decentralized platform like the Bitcoin, which is the best example of the decentralization and anonymity, and other technologies or coins, or even the central bank digital coin, which is not even decentralized, like the blockchain inspired. So when you spoke about the stable coin in specific, this is something elastic. It can be an elastic supply, but it can be also a good solution that can fit into the ecosystem that gives confidence to the central bank or the country or the monetary system in order to accommodate cryptocurrencies and the legal tender money in this country. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Karim. Olotoyin?
Thank you you very much. I think the first thing which I have highlighted is the issue of awareness, information, training, education. That is the first.
Yeah.
And that is where most of the time we always get this wrong. I talk about curriculum design. For example, it is not something that people just want to make money, people just go into what they don't know about. At societal level, whether at government or like official level, we could develop curriculum from people in primary school, people in secondary school, people in higher institutions, people in the formal sector, what they should know about the blockchain and crypto space. I have done it already and have trained my sub-ethnic groups in Nigeria as of 3 years ago, which we call is one movement. I trained them free for 5 months. And I've developed the curriculum for primary school. For example, somebody in primary school, just say you learn 110 units. Maybe they should learn just 5 cryptocurrencies, the types, attributes. Begin to appreciate the concept of private keys. Because today, this is the time that our education to be meaningful. When you teach a child factorization, prime numbers, and these are the foundations that lead to cyber security. At what time do you begin to introduce cryptography to these children that belong to this crypto generation? Because we just go there, we're just talking about fraud. Most of these fraud that we're talking about are out of ignorance. Because if you commit a fraud on the blockchain network, we can get that through blockchain and crypto forensic. The entire field of crypto forensic, even though it looked advanced before, it should be something like that everybody should know. Let me give you the traditional money something. The fraud that happened, why did it happen? How many people today use three-factor authentication? How many people today use tokens? If you have your account and you use tokens, and you need to generate the token key, you need your password, you need your account number. How can somebody now remotely tamper with your account without having those 3 things? That you don't have it is information, is ignorance. In the case of the crypto space, most of the fraud that I said they are completed. The crypto level that people have, is it hardware-based? Is it cloud-based? By which crypto exchange? Is the cryptographic key strictly under your control or under a control of a crypto exchange? Did you even order? Is somebody trading the money with you, or you are using the money to trade yourself? Do you even know what you are doing? So the first thing is that when we do not, from a societal perspective, so this discipline is where the world is going to. As a mathematician, only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be mined in this world. And you cannot stop anybody from having it. So if the population of the world double, the price of Bitcoin will go up. Today, fraud is happening because other people are taking advantage of the majority of the other people that are not informed. So even institutional investors can crash it and don't know that they can buy it. So when you know that 100 million are going to go to 1 Bitcoin, but only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be mined. So what now happened to the 21 Bitcoin when we have finished it? It means prices of demand and supply will continue to happen. So some institutional investors now that know that in 30, 40 years' time, almost the 21 million Bitcoin will have been mined, and everybody will want to have a share of it. And because it's digital, it's electronic, you can get a fractal. Maybe you now get 1 Satoshi, 0.5 Satoshi, given that 100 million Satoshi is going to be 1 Satoshi can be $100 million. So this is an information that you have to do. So it's not about somebody advising or not advising you. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. But we don't know who brought the Bitcoin. They say Satoshi did this. We don't know the person. But now it's asset of the whole world. Because it's asset of the whole world, it tells us the fundamental that is there. But if given that it is, then how do you operate in this space? So knowledge of cryptography must be made available to everybody. And this is why you have to use a multi-scheme approach to solving this issue. For example, now, it is a misnomer for central bank to create a digital currency that is not cryptographic based. That's not different from the normal currency they have. Because if it is cryptographic based, that it makes use of private and public key, it means that government making it a legal tender will bring the educational aspect to society. That's why I talk about the sociological aspect. If I want to use my e-naira, I'm already using private key. I'm already using the e-naira in my wallet. Then when I'm going to use the other cryptocurrency in whatever form, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, I now know that I know what a wallet is. I know what a private key is. So these are the fundamental issues that need to be solved. If you do not solve them educationally, then you're not going to be battling with fraud, corruption, and all those things. And I mentioned earlier because how can our intelligence and security agencies understand blockchain forensic if the central bank is banning that technology, preventing it from use? Because in the United States of America, their National Security Authority, the NSC, they are the single largest employer of mathematicians in the world. So if and yet they complain that Russia is hacking into them, then now come to Africa. All our these things we have. How many mathematicians people understand cryptography or this and that, or what is whether anything called cryptography, which is the security features of Bitcoin. So educationally, we are low. That is why when we begin to do these things ourselves, we'll be able to put the intellectual resources of Africans together to deal with this fundamental issues. That's why I classify it into the technological aspect, the sociological aspect, the economic aspect. Each time we're talking about vulnerability, what vulnerability are we talking about as a mathematician? What is the whole field of stochastic process all about? Why do you teach martingale theorems and all those things in stochastic mathematics? Because a lot of people, central bank governors, the payment people, they are not mathematicians. They begin to talk about volatility. And I laugh. What do you mean by option pricing? Why are you talking about financial derivatives? Should we now not know that we need to educationally change to make sure that our mathematical curriculum reflect this? Then when we talk about business analytics, we begin to introduce these things there. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, once we don't get the educational aspect right, we're going to be beating around the bush. Do not deceive ourselves. Personally, in Nigeria, I have taken time to teach my sub-ethnic group, which is evidence, and I have the documentation there. We cannot expand it. But if you want to take it national, you cannot begin to introduce politics and all those things to it. It's education, training in different form to the formal sector. Because if a woman has a husband that has cryptocurrency, and the man gets all the man, how would the woman inherit it? Maybe the cryptographic is even with the occupant or the mistress somewhere else. These are societal issues. And if they now go to court, what would the judge be saying? If your law field, they don't contain all these cyber law issues, all these crypto, smart laws, and all those kind of issues. Because they can know. Because if the two of the children or three of the children from a polygamous home, they are sharp, they now know that the cryptographic is with the son of the one who is outside, who is sharp and who can do ethical hacking and all those things. And he's rich. Then you are not asking, the mothers are not asking, what did they say, which money, how much did they say that money is? It's real. It doesn't look like it is real, but it's real. It can lead to death. There can be murder. There can be fight, and all this, which will also bring about legal issues. So we're in a very serious big space, and we have a duty to make sure that we come up with something that we need to address those things sociologically, psychologically, before we begin to translate it into business and economic terms and all the rest. So this will be my immediate response, but it's a whole lot of job for us to do. But that is the future. We have no option in terms of it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Christelle, would you say a word?
What I can say is cryptocurrency is the future, and it will offer Africa and Africans a lot of opportunities in terms of transforming their financial capability and improving the collaboration, or I would say business, across the continent. But this, we have to put in place the African approach to the currency, and the states need to work together, because even though we think that is very good for the currency to be decentralized, at a certain point in time when we become more adopted and more global, there will be a need for a certain degree of control around the movement of the currency. So I think the first step for me is sensitization, and the next step is to put down the policy and regulation, as well as the required technology to effectively implement this across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Christelle. I see another question about how prone is crypto to cyber threats. From the get-go, I will say that the blockchain technology, I will not say invincible, but it's close to invincible to cyber threats. But the other risks involve anonymity. We want to know that we're not transferring money to terrorist or criminal. I mean, that's the only security risk. But the blockchain technology, it's very robust when it comes to cyber threats. There's another comment from one attendee. wants to know how beneficial cryptocurrency will be for Africa. I think we covered it in most interventions. Someone else wants to further this assumption. Eric?
Well, as I said during my presentation, I think that the opportunity to have an alternative monetary system is very, very important, and that should be taken into account. A second point, I talked about how Bitcoin or the blockchain technology can help us to improve the systems that we have, the infrastructures, and this is, I think, going to put Africa on par with the rest of the world in terms of infrastructure. And it's only up to us now to adopt these technologies in order to take advantage of it. And I also want to emphasize on the fact that, it can bring true freedom, as I've explained on my last slide, which is, we know, can lead as well to prosperity. And this is something that the continent needs. And this is my hope that we can take advantage of this new technology that is being offered to us.
Okay, thank you, Eric. We cannot emphasize enough how cryptocurrency will bridge the digital gap, the financial digital gap that we have in Africa, and how we can own our assets, our financial assets, and also how cryptocurrency can help us do better trades. First of all, among us Africans and from Africa to the world. Now I want to ask someone in the public. Someone in the public has a question. Someone has a particular question in the public. Samuel, is there any other question that I did not cover that you know of?
I don't know if I've addressed Mr. Segun's question in the pod. And we have some hands raised. I'll give them rights to speak now.
Oh, you have some hand raised, okay.
Yes.
So let's give the floor to the first hand raised.
Yeah, before we go to that, I don't know if I've addressed Mr. Segun's question in the Q&A pod. Ambassador Lubile, he asked, who provides the attribution for cryptocurrency fraud issues, and who can be held responsible if there's a cryptocurrency dispute? Did you get that, sir?
Yes, I got that. Karim, can you answer this one?
Just repeat the question because the voice of Samuel was too low for me to hear it.
The question is, who provides attribution for cryptocurrency fraud issues? And who can be held responsible if there's a cryptocurrency transaction dispute?
Okay. Okay, this is a very general question, but if it was planned from the beginning, the cryptocurrencies are different. There are thousands of cryptocurrencies right now. It depends upon the structure of each cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin was the most successful form of cryptocurrency ever and will remain forever like this, because the platform that it was designed for it is money transfer. Complete the architecture and the concept of the ledger and the private key, like Mr. Toyin said, and this methodology is very safe for people to use this type of platform. The Bitcoin is not only a currency, it's a platform. So some people have ideas, have some services, and they want to monetize. So they use the Bitcoin platform. They use it as a platform, and they can then decide whether the reward or the incentive of this platform either be in Bitcoin or either be in another kind of cryptocurrency. Then after that, the Ethereum managed the smart contracts there, where you can do any kind or monetize any kind of service that you can do, and you can create your own currency. Then we had the form of the stable coins, because things are volatile, some day up, some day down, and the case of the anonymity, and for the case of using the Bitcoin for illegal things, it's being used for different multiple purposes. So we have other forms of some people try to make something of a blockchain decentralized. It's inspired, so there can be a kind of consensus that will allow freedom, that can allow people to go to make the benefits of the blockchain or this transaction. They can transact immediately, they can do it in seconds, there is no fees. Yeah, you can put your service, you can do it on it very easily. So many people also went into this direction. When it comes to the global picture and the strategic picture, like Crystal said, definitely all of us need to have our African platform or currency, that we can have our independence, that we can transact between us together, that we can use the benefits of this new form that we will decide together to create it in a form that we all accept it. We cannot design something that of benefit to some party and it will harm the others. So when we reach to this position, definitely we will have a good form of or a new platform that we can use and give us some kind of independence, and we can decide in between how to appreciate. We will know the tools, how we can let this coin always be on appreciation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karim. Thank you for this input. Now I want to give the floor to Dr. Jimson, but shortly, Dr. Jimson is one of the first chairman of AFICTA. Dr. Jimson, you have the floor.
Hey, thank you very much, Vice Chair Eric and Sidhu, and everyone on the call. It's been a great panel. Thanks to Chief Oluwatoyin Olorunteru, Crystal, Eric, and Karim. Thank you so much for those highly thought-provoking elucidation and statements. Well, I want to really provide this input, and that is for our government in Africa, principally. As has been discussed, cryptocurrency is a paradigm that provides a lot of accountability, trust framework, and has the potential of giving Africa another chance, to create wealth and prosperity, for citizens. So perhaps the middle point, as the chair of AFICTA mentioned, could be that we can set up our own platform, the African acceptable wide platform. When you bring in all the stakeholders together, AU is already there. We also have UNECA, and we also have private sector organization like AFICTA. When all the stakeholders could come together at the continental level and have agreement, especially even the government, like the CBN has been mentioned, and the Kenyan and the South African currency authorities, and the law enforcement authorities, they all come together in a summit. And we agree we need to set up this platform, because it's actually platform and infrastructure driven. You create value. And so we can have our own African framework. And with it, we can promote commerce. The whole idea of wealth creation is, trading, payment system, payment platform. This is our opportunity. And I think we need to seize it. Mr. Segun mentioned something, or asked a question about attribution. That is the attribution. When the whole stakeholders come together to make it happen, you know, I don't know what we call it, AfriCoin, okay? Then that is the attribution for Africa. And then we could leverage with other continents, okay? So, and also when our law enforcement, they come together, they are the one that will be the guide with regard to dispute resolution or the question of fraud. You know, was it last year or the year before in the US with the Colonial Pipeline fraud issue, well attack, wherein cryptocurrency had to be paid, you know, in Bitcoin. Okay, ransom had to be paid in Bitcoin. Of course, the US law enforcement, FBI, they were able to recover some of the cryptocurrency. So they have to come in, basically, you know. So once we tidy up the whole stakeholders to be involved, then we can set off, you know, to move forward. I think this is our opportunity, this is our time. So thank you again for all the contributions, and it's a big pleasure listening to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jimson. Just for everyone, if you look at the chat room, there are major links about AFICTA and also about the African Free Trade Agreement. Samuel, how are we with time? I think we are towards the end. Samuel, can you direct us on what we do for the final picture?
Yeah, we still have 2 questions from the floor. I'm thinking this is the main reason why we came here, so that the participants can address all the questions.
Okay.
So we have 1 question from Mr. Timmy in the chat room, and I think Mr. Olubele has a contribution as well. So after those 2, we can then go to closing remarks.
Okay. So is it a verbal question or it's in the chat room? I'm struggling to look at the question. Can you just read the question for me, please?
Okay, that's perfect. I'll do that. If there is a huge opportunity in cryptocurrency for Africa, why then is our government not making policies to embrace the future? I recently got my account restricted and eventually closed because my bank reported that my account was flagged for possible crypto-related transaction, which is against our central bank policy. I doubt if Africa is ever ready for technology other than playing catch-up games. So the main question here is, why is our government not making policies to embrace the future?
Okay. Well, thank you for this question. I think that's the point of this seminar. We want to raise awareness, especially for governments when it comes to cryptocurrency. They have to look at it not as a threat, but as an opportunity. And I think Karim gave some solutions about central bank digital currencies. Maybe that could be an answer to it. For now, I know the adoption rate of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in Africa by governments, it's very, very low, with maybe a few exceptions. So this is why what we are trying to address by organizing webinars like this, discussion, and maybe find solutions. If somebody else has a point to say. I say, Rooney, Paul is there. Yeah. Paul, do you have an input on this? Paul Rooney, the vice chairman.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
I would like to talk about.
Okay.
Okay, can I comment?
Yes, you can comment. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think that what is happening is that government is, especially the central banks, they feel threatened. Let me say the individuals within those government agencies, they feel threatened, but we need to make sure that through proper enlightenment and education, we need to give them assurance that they should not feel threatened. They will always have something to what is happening between the fiat currency and the cryptocurrencies, like what happened between our traditional postal agencies and email system. That's exactly it. Today, we use Gmail, we use Yahoo, we use our official company email to transfer something, but we still use post offices. They both exist, simultaneously or concurrently. That's exactly what is going to happen. So the central bank needs to understand this. And like I mentioned when I was making my oral presentation, is that sometimes we, the people, needs to dictate what we want. For example, to our legislators, if I'm the National Assembly and our central bank is feeling difficult, I can, initiate a law to break down the central bank of Nigeria, or even to repeal the CBN Act. We will drag it, then we go there. If they can settle, then we come to the process, we start to say that we need to have maybe Financial Service Authority, because by saying central bank, they now see that it's centralized. If I now want a decentralized bank, then maybe I'll come up with the Financial Service Authority Act, where the issues of cryptocurrency will be properly addressed. And when that issue is properly addressed, maybe the people that need to work there, maybe all the people that are currently working in the central bank need to retire. If they cannot scale, retire them. As simple as it. So, because at the end of the day, this is where the world is going to, and we cannot lie to ourselves. Take, for example, now, what happens in future if, let's say, in the States, every house in the state needs to have solar energy. Where do you need the hydroelectric power and the energy that government is distributing to every house? After all, what does the house actually need? That's electricity. So if in the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, by the new design, local government say that, well, for you to build your house, you must have a solar panel on it. And solar panels have become cheap, avoidable, all those things. Everybody have, like, nobody connect to the front. Those government agencies that are doing electricity companies, distribution companies, they will then national debt. Or maybe they will need to serve industries and companies that will be able to pay for it. So in this case, now we must come to the reality that since cryptocurrency is the future, we need to make law that we handle this thing. Just like what happened in Russia is a particular example for us. The CBN in the Central Bank of Russia has an upper hand before, talk about this. But when there is sanction now, and the country needs to transact, the country needs to survive, then the CBN cannot come and be talking something. So part of their Federal Reserve is going to be in crypto. Some of their Federal Reserve is going to be in, Chinese money. Part will be in the dollar, maybe a small amount, all those things. So these are changing. So this is where education, training, and exposure to the complexity of life is important. In the case of Africa, this is our first time that this technology is meeting us as independent countries, as people that have become enlightened. We need to take advantage of it. Otherwise, they will dictate the terms and maybe the Western world are already doing it now. They have not said so. So when they have balanced, perfected it, then you now see they will come up with that regulation and ask us to be signing treaty. Compel us to sign treaty, I will sign treaty. We won't know what we're doing. But if we can bring the 1 billion African market together, then we have the leverage, because in most cases we transact among ourselves. Then with those countries that are imposing those conditions or not. Well, if I'm going to go from Nigeria to Cameroon or Nigeria to Republic of Benin, that's next door. Why do I need to get involved in dollar? I will not begin to worry the exchange is high, it's not high, all those things. After all, I can even trek to Benin Republic or trek from Calabar to Cameroon. So what brings about dollar in the issue? So we must know what we are doing, and we must be very fair. We must be very fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Olotoyin. I just want to, sorry for interrupting. I just want to give the floor to Ambassador Ologbile. He has his hand raised. Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, the chairman. Good afternoon, the former chairman. Good afternoon, the speakers and the participants. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make a comment. I want to bring attention or draw the attention of the
Hello?
If a network disconnect.
Paul, in the meantime, do you want to say something very quickly? Paul Ronnie,
just quickly, a task. Well, not on what's been discussed, but I'll, just to find out, are we doing the closing now? Because I saw a question, a hand up.
Yes, we were taking this last input from a participant. I think he is out of he's having technical difficulties.
Okay, let's just take the last question and then I'll wrap up.
Okay. Samuel, is there any other question that we did not cover?
None. Maybe we'll just wait for him to come back. But as we do that, we're launching a poll now for everybody to just quickly participating.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we lost Mr. Segun. So.
Okay, then yeah, because we're a little over time. So firstly, I'd just like to thank everybody, in particular our panelists, for what has been a very interactive and exciting dialogue. It is a very it's an interesting topic, I would say. It's a topic that's impacting and will continue to impact our lives. And as a continent, it's something that can change the dynamics of how we interact financially. But we do need to get control of our own cryptos. So there's a lot of work that we need to do as a continent. But the building blocks are being put in place. You're seeing new revelations from different countries and different stakeholders on the continent around taking this narrative forward and taking ownership of these processes. But yeah, thanks to all our panelists, thanks to Aficta and our secretariat for bringing all of this together. And most importantly, thanks to our participants, because without you being part of this discussion, we would just be talking to each other, which is not really useful. So I know we all have busy schedules, and I think this is a topic, though, that we need to all look into deeper and see how we can engage, and from an Aficta perspective, to see how we can leverage Aficta as a platform to affect some of these changes, and particularly around harmonization, around policies, national policies. There's a lot of work to be done in the different countries within the continent, and how we can then become a leader in this process globally. So yeah, that's my few words, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Dada, Samuel, can you just the closing picture? Can you direct us? You have the floor, Samuel.
Okay, yeah, I think we like all the panelists to turn on their videos, so I can just take a quick snapshot for reporting. And as we do that, attendees are invited to continue participating in the poll that is ongoing. Yeah, thank you all, and take the photo now.
Okay, are we good?
1 second. Sorry. Yeah, we're good. I think we can go ahead and close now. I see that most people have participated in the poll.
So, Chairman, any closing words?
Much appreciated. I think this session was very informative and highly engaging. I also would like to thank everyone who participated. The attendees as themselves, they asked very fruitful and rich questions to get the experts to also think on their feet with regards to a couple of the questions that were posed in the session. And I think from AFICTA's side, we will take the challenge and see how we are going to progress with regards to it. It was a good that we have to put in action with regards to the items that we discuss here. And I think, Mr. Eric, you will lead us with regards to just giving direction after the session on the matters that were raised, to say this is the item that we might action from our side, and how do we now start moving forward with regards to that, and how do we tap on the expertise that we've got from our panelists and their colleagues as well. I would like to thank you, Mr. Sindeu, Eric, to have put this together. It was well put. It is something that actually is a topic that must be actioned on. It's important for Africa, and it's something that is going to have an impact to everyone, including a man on the street. And I would like to also thank the office for having organized this and to make sure that they facilitate both the attendees and as well as everybody to be able to congregate in this manner. We appreciate that. It's much appreciated with regards to that. Panelists, thank you. Thanks for your expertise. Much appreciated. Please, let's keep in touch, and your expertise is highly appreciated. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.